Hello, my name is Dave Napton. I'm Associate Head of School for the School of Engineering here at the University of Sunderland. Thank you for tuning in today for our roundtable, and today's topic is Women in Engineering. I'm joined by two colleagues, Nida Naveed and Rumen Obomo. Rumen, would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Rumen Obomo, a mechanical engineering lecturer here and researcher. I've been at the university since 2021, so I'm very happy to be here to be involved in this conversation.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
And Nida?
Hi, I'm Dr. Nida Naveed. I'm the program leader for one of our engineering programs. I've been with the industry and academia for more than last 15 years. I did my PhD in materials engineering, and I'm doing the research in the same area. And I'm the chartered engineer as well. Excellent,
thank you. And we're recording this special edition specifically to air on Women in Engineering Day. Can you tell us a little bit about Women in Engineering Day?
Women in Engineering Day, basically it's a special day. We celebrate it annually, every year, on 23rd of June. So it is basically to promote gender diversity and inclusivity in engineering.
Excellent, thank you. And I know you both have views and experience in gender diversity in engineering particularly, and we're going to delve into that during this conversation. But first and foremost, you're both experienced engineers as well as academics. What attracted you to engineering in the first place, and did you have anybody that inspired you particularly?
I think when I was in secondary school, it was more like which of these courses would kind of enhance my skills. So I was really good at maths and drawing, so I had to do something with maths and drawing. So initially I actually wanted to become an architect, believe it or not. But then I realized that engineering was more of something I want to be involved in being able to change the way the world works, improve on designs, and then mechanical engineering in particular, because I felt that was the most diverse of all the engineering fields where you could work on different projects. You always need a mechanical engineer on every engineering team, so that's why I chose mechanical engineering. I'm the first engineer in my family, so there was no
male or female.
Male or female.
Yeah.
There was no mentor like that, role model to look up to. It was just I wanted to do it and I was going to do it, basically.
Yeah.
My father was not impressed, because to him, mechanical engineering was kind of uncivilized in his, it was for the rough men. So he wanted me to be a medical doctor, but I went against him, and the rest is history.
Well, off the record, I'm very pleased you chose engineering. Nida, what about yourself? What attracted you to engineering, and who were your role models?
Yeah, same to Rumen. I was good in maths at that time, I got the inspiration from my surrounding, my cousins, my family member, my brother. They all are engineers, so I thought, why not me? But I'm the first one in my family as a female engineer.
Did you feel that added any pressure, or was it very supportive?
They were very, very supportive.
Excellent.
Especially my brother. He was very supportive throughout the education, because it's more male dominating university, and so he helped me a lot. And after that, when I passed out, so he helped me a lot to get the job, and he guided me very well.
Some of the things we talk about here in the department, and when we're sharing the career opportunities for anybody who wants to come into engineering, is the backdrop and the context, particularly here in the UK, is nationally we are 20,000 engineers short degree qualified every single year, and that's so that we can reach our economic potential, and engineering supports the economy in a huge way. When you look at the statistics of the genders going into STEM subjects, I think it's about 50-50. That's the latest stats. But in engineering, particularly, those joining higher education courses, particularly for engineering and technology, is around about 16%. Do you have any thoughts of reasons why that might be, and what we can do as a society, as an institution, and what needs to happen to address that balance?
Yeah, the thing is, I've had different talks in primary schools and secondary schools, talking to both boys and girls, finding out what's really encouraging them to go into engineering in particular. And you would think that a society like the UK, where it's more, less traditional in their values, you'd expect some of the barriers to be gone, but they are still very, very there. So they have similar barriers to when I was studying engineering in Nigeria. Still the same things like mechanical engineering or engineering in general is not for girls, it's not for women, because it's seen as a masculine field. And therefore, girls, young girls in particular, see themselves as unattractive when they go for those kind of courses. So I've talked to many girls that feel they have to dumb themselves down. They have to hide that they're good at maths just because they want to be liked by their friends and as well seem attractive to the opposite sex. So these are things I've seen and heard from young girls. So I think that's a serious barrier that is still causing problems here. So,
and that's society that is sort of
yes, because the thing is
creating these myths.
If you are growing up in a family where you're being told that there are certain things that you need to do to be attractive, to be this, to be that, there's no way you're going to choose a path that's unattractive. I chose a path that was unattractive, despite my father thought of what I was doing. But there are people that won't be able to do that. They want that support, that family support, to think that whenever I go to school and come back, somebody's going to be encouraging to me. But it's lacking there. So, and I think not being able to see yourself, like I didn't have any female engineers to look up to, but that didn't deter me. I don't know why, maybe I'm strange. But there are girls that they feel they need to see someone ahead of them to see that it's possible. So I think a lot of, society has a lot of role to play, be it in the way we advertise, be the way we, it could be movies, it could be whatever. But I think the mindset has to change.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel that I think we need to raise awareness in our girls, their parents, their teachers, their career advisor, and even society to the fact that the woman has same potential and same opportunities as boys to excel in engineering. I would say,
I think that is a misconception that engineering is still you using your muscles to lift engine blocks and things like that. It's not you still need to use your muscles to lift engine blocks, but it's gone beyond that.
One of the stories I always tell, we're sat here on the St. Peter's campus at the University of Sunderland. We're on the site of an old shipyard. Back through the Industrial Revolution, engineering was dirty, it wasn't environmentally friendly, and very, very male dominated. The things engineering had going for it then was when a ship was launched, it was a community event and everybody was aware of it and everybody saw it. And now, amazing jobs are there, high tech, really, really well paid, nice, clean environment where people can really make an impact and a difference on the world. But it all happens inside factories and people don't see it.
They don't see that,
You've talked, Ruben, about, you both have, about making those career choices within the context of a family as well. And the statistics show that young people choosing a profession, it's the parents and guardians who are, really important influences. So do you think maybe there's some work to do there as well? For not, it's not necessarily just the young people that need to hear that message. It's the wider community as well.
Yeah, this type of basically discussion, I think we need to encourage these type of sittings more. We need to engage with the other audience, which includes the parents, career advisors, or students, or student ambassadors, all these things. So I think we need to arrange all these type of sittings more.
Yeah, I think what we do with the open days, bringing school kids in here, giving them different activities and seeing that you don't really need muscles to do these activities, that also helps. And also taking academics or people into schools. I've done that a lot with STEM ambassadors as well. And I know Women Engineering Society does that a lot. So taking women into schools to say this is a woman, this is her job basically. And then we could also do shadowing programs. So I think there was something we talked about recently about if we could get a secondary school student or a college student to maybe shadow someone maybe one day a week just to see what it really entails to be an engineer. So I would think we could do that as academics and also do that with factory work. It's kind of removing this, what's the word now, like this cloak and dagger thing about it's one hidden thing. Bring the curtains down, take somebody in and see what's the day in the life of an engineer and see if they like it, to be honest.
No, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and also we can collaborate with the industry and we can ask them to offer some more internships and we can send our students over there, and when they come back with the right skills so they can act like an ambassador for our existing students as well as for the society. So
yeah, that's true, because when you go to talk in a school, you are seen as one adult. So if maybe the year 12s or year 10s go in and do an internship and then come and talk to the younger kids, I think they would interact better than us coming to talk to them. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Nida, in the introductions, you mentioned you were a chartered engineer as well.
Yeah.
My research area is not specifically for addressing the gender balance, but it is looking at the skills gap and the pipeline and recruitment of new engineering talent, and that's pre, during higher education and beyond as well. Now I know that to be a chartered engineer, it's not just about that academic knowledge. It's not just about the math skills and the knowledge. It's about practical skills as well, where you're working in workshops and you're doing things. But I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is it's about the professional acumen as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Working as a chartered engineer, you're working at a very high level professionally.
Yes, exactly. It's basically the team experience, working within the team, how you can handle other people's, those have different backgrounds, how you can work safely, how you can contribute with the environment in terms of sustainability. So yes, it contributes all the factors, and then you can be a chartered engineer.
Yeah. And I think working in engineering as well, you mentioned the sustainability agenda, and when you look at the United Nations sustainability goals, and increasingly, you see an increasing number of students who are, when they get a chance to pick a project in their, maybe for the final year project or something like that, it's about sustainability, it's about improving people's lives. It might be about renewable power generation, it might be about, creating incubators for premature babies born in, distance from a hospital and things. Reducing waste, looking after the planet. It really is an opportunity to make the world a better place, and use that scientific knowledge, use the practical skill for the power of good.
Yeah, exactly. We always advise our students to choose a topic that could help to solve the real life engineering problems. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think when you look at people making career choices, engineering possibly isn't taught in schools. So to pick a brand new subject that you've not studied directly before, but people have studied about the environment. You draw on geography for that, don't you? You draw on your maths, you draw on your science, you draw across the full curriculum. You mentioned art; it's a creative subject as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think these things really do appeal to that wider audience. Do you think?
Yeah, I think just more awareness, because I think the way people see engineering, it's stuck in, like, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago, the way it was seen. So we need to update the idea they have of engineering. It's so much more than what people think.
Yes,
and
exactly.
we've advanced so much, where a lot of simulations, a lot of VR, AR. It's going to be so much fun for kids to know that this even exists, to be honest. So I think there is so much work to do, but we don't want to fall into the trap of preaching to the choir. I think we kind of have these discussions, which is fantastic, but I think we're talking to people that already know what we need to do. So I think we need to change the audience, talk to different people. Yes,
change the perception of the audience. Exactly. And we I think I recently heard the primary engineering programs.
Yes.
I think this is very helpful for the kids if we would like to make or produce some more female engineers. So basically we need to encourage them to engage with this type of activities from their earlier age.
I would absolutely agree. I've been involved in the primary engineer and other outreach events as well. And because that is taught, it's not just primary schools, it's reception right up to year 13, but because it's a special project where you're engaging young kids to say, look, if you were an engineer, what would you do? And because you've naturally got a 50-50 gender split there, because everybody's involved. But we've been on judging panels for this as well, haven't we? And you look at the idea on its merit, and there's a nicely written letter and things that go with it. But actually, when you stop and reflect, you think actually there's a high proportion of females who are doing really well at this.
Yes,
really, really well.
Not to be biased, but I think women can be better engineers. Not to be controversial.
Better engineers. I don't think it's controversial at all. Working in industry and in academia, I've been really fortunate with excellent engineers, and many of those have been female. You both teach on the programmes here at the University of Sunderland for anybody who wants to come along and undertake a higher education course in engineering. What are your observations perhaps for a moment, just focusing on how those females are performing and how they're doing on those programs.
Yeah, I think it's still that stuck in that loop of how do I want to see myself in how do I place myself as a female, prospective female mechanical engineer or engineer generally. We have few girls in my cohort. They seem to be very distinct. They don't understand that. They don't see the advantage of having a community. So I think that's what's missing. So we need to emphasize that you are fewer in the field, you need to build those communities to really, really take advantage of that, because they need to support each other. I think that's what I see my students. I can see them just, at different corners of the classroom, and they're not really interacting with one another. They could really gain from, building those networks, building those communities, because when you get into industry, that's what you keep looking for. You keep looking for someone that could understand what you're going through, that could maybe be going through the same things that you are. So if they understand that concept this early on, then it would be fantastic for them, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think I would like to add something here. This type of discussion is not just for the girls, it's for the boys as well. So because we know that we have few number of female in this industry, so I think boys also need to be very supportive. If we have few number of females in the class, so I think boys needs to be more supportive comparatively to the other subjects. So yeah, I think so. And in my experience, I found all the females are very, very hardworking. They try their best to achieve the good marks, to produce good projects, put good assignments, and similarly we are trying to help them as much as we can.
A lot of my observations over the years teaching students, there's two observations I'll make. You mentioned about industry interns, and one of the opportunities that all students have is the ability to go out and secure a placement for a year as part of their studies with industry and the work as a junior engineer. We may have a small proportion of females on the program. It's in line with industry, it's not ridiculously small, but a high proportion of those females are the ones that are successful. They're the ones that are motivated, possibly better organised, present well at interview, and do really, really well on placement. They really do, and often go back and get that job. The other thing I've observed, and this is kind of an anecdotal observation rather than sort of backed up with any measurement, but a lot of the modules I've taught have been design-based and getting students to work in groups. When there's a female in the group performs differently, and I think that diversity really, really adds. There are things, large corporations look for diversity on the leadership board and things for this very reason.
It's just different. You just see the world differently. You just bring fresh ideas to the table. In
a really, really positive way. And coming back to those statistics that I mentioned before, 20,000 engineers short, when half the population aren't really taking up those opportunities, that's the way to fill it, because that's the way that we're going to, improve the world, move forward as society, by getting that diversity.
Yeah, and last 2 years, I feel that we got some URB female students as well, which is very good. So people are thinking the way, and they are sending their girls abroad to do their studies.
Sorry, I missed that. Did you say Arab students?
Yes. Female students from other Arabian countries, so which is also very good.
Yeah, that's good to see. Yes. Good. And I think what Nida mentioned about also talking, focusing on the male side of things is very, very important, because a lot of times women, I know I've experienced, I don't know if Nida has, because men can play a very important role in making the environment comfortable for a woman to come in. So if it feels like it's a lads club, and it's not going to encourage a lot of women to come in there. So I think it's very, very important to also bringing the men into the conversation and understand the role they play in either encouraging a woman to stay, because there are women that have gone into the field and then they've gone. Either they've taken a career break to have a baby and they never came back. Either they didn't just see themselves back in that same environment that they were before, and they just felt it's not worth it anymore. But I think men will play a very important role in encouraging women to stay in and other women to come in.
Especially in the current scenario where we have less number of females than the men, so men really need to provide support.
One of the things I think that will support that as well is I've observed, in my time here at the university and academia, since leaving industry, I think employers' attitudes have changed to this as well, that they realise, for everybody, flexible working's now a thing, and part-time contracts and all the rest of it, to make things much, much more accessible. And it's moved very much away from the 9 to 5 and adapted with many other professions as well. So that's really good. I could sit here all afternoon and talk about this. Once we get going, this is a fascinating conversation. Thank you both so much for sharing your insights. It's really, really good. I'm going to ask you one question before we go. If there's somebody watching this, I'll start with you, Nida. If there's somebody watching this and they're thinking, maybe I should go for this. I want to become an engineer. Sat there, particularly, female engineer. What's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
First of all, I would say, they need to do their own research, okay, and then they need to come in our open days and talk with our academics and talk with our student ambassadors and make the informed decision about their choices. So it is very important. They need to do their own work, own research, and they don't need to overthink about the different things, but do their own research, talk with academics, and make their own decision.
Thank you. Rumen, what advice do you have?
I would add on to that, looking at those stats, about 23,000 jobs, vacancies, that's an important stat. If you know that you're going to go into an industry where you would never look for work, that's amazing. You have job security. So that's something that we need to emphasize on and say, okay, do you want to come into an industry where it's really high paid, you have job security, there's always going to be something for you to do as long as you're willing to improve and adapt, then that's something that we can really focus on. So for the girls in particular, just look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I want, I can do this. It may be unattractive on some days. You might need to pack your hair up and no makeup and try to move an engine block. You may need to do that, but there are some days where it's more glamorous. But that's life anyway. So
most professions, I'm sure, have unglamorous days.
That's life. So just have the full picture, like Nida said. Do your own research, and you'll be surprised, what you can find. There's gold at the end of the rainbow, whatever.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you both. Huge thanks to Rumen and to Nida for joining me on this talk. If anything that you've said has piqued your interest, there's loads of information on the University of Sunderland website, and we'd love to see you at one of those open days. We look forward to meeting you. Thank you very much.